happens in a society when the main two leading political parties crumble? Well, the rise of a fringe movement comes to play, and this is what we're seeing with One Nation, because we're sick of the Liberals' empty promises of conservative values, and where at least I'm sick of Labour's constant lies and growing trend of censorship. But before we get into this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more videos like this. The Australian people have seen more recently Labour reshape the country that we once knew, where our identity was recognised and proudly celebrated. But over the past 3 years, we've seen 1.2 million net arrivals under Albanese. We've seen the Western world's first social media ban for under 16s. We've had an attack on our most famous beach, followed by the introduction of some of the world's most extreme hate speech laws framed as protecting our safety from extremism, and what appears to be better treatment of individuals like ISIS sympathisers than our own ADF soldiers. Rather than Labour supporting the progressive side of politics, they're taking advantage in changing the groundwork of Australia. Then we had the Liberals that for 9 years were more centrist than anything else like Turnbull, so it's completely understandable when Australians are frustrated with the Uniparty. Just take a look at Albo's Instagram comments. I respond to your response of One Nation. Too funny. Here's Ackland solving the issue and ignoring it. Exactly right. There's no de-escalation. It's either solving or escalation. Help for I ram from IRGC. Then there's just a comment saying resign, which is too bloody funny. Then look at Angus Taylor's comment section. It's exactly the same. Can farmers trust Liberals? Definitely not in my opinion. You have literally just done exactly what Albo did. How about you fully outline your plan and what you're going to do and follow through. All of you need to stop and grow a set and actually step up as leaders. Stop taking crap and let's get shit done, otherwise stand aside, princesses. Exactly. That's literally my thoughts in a comment right there, like honestly. But what are your solutions? What clarity do you bring is another comment. Just from what you can see there's no clear distinction between the two parties, because remember, Anthony Albanese passed the hate speech laws, which are the censorship laws that chip away at free speech. We all know that. And now, more recently, amendments to the ASIO have been passed through the House of Representatives and now being considered in the Senate. And guess what these laws do? They give authorities the power to detain you, to question you. They can restrict your lawyer, take away your right to remain silent, and force you to answer a question, or you could face 5 years in prison. Brilliant. And this can apply to anyone as young as 14 years old. And if you tell anyone that this has happened to you, that you ever have been questioned, you could face another 5 years in prison for that as well. And we're told that this is to combat terrorism, to crack down on it. But we all know what this is really a guise for, and guess who pushed to pass it? Good old Angus Taylor. So again, there's no real distinction between these two parties. People have known this for quite a while, and since Albo was elected in 2022, this is the lunacy they have been spinning.
That we understand that Australia's diversity is a strength. It's a strength in terms of being a microcosm for the world, showing that people of different backgrounds, different faiths can get on and be strengthened, our whole society as a result. But it's also an economic asset, because people in multicultural communities engage in business activity. My Labor team will work every day to bring Australians together. We know they don't support net zero, but we know also they are net zero when it comes to increases in real wages. My fellow Australians, by nature, we're an optimistic country, but I understand that right now it's hard to be positive.
Great. Now, Pauline Hanson's One Nation in 1997 started as very much as a, oh my god, racist party, which we all know is completely incorrect. And today, we on the real right see a lot of the things that Pauline Hanson was saying in the 90s as very much normal now, but this doesn't mean that the party didn't go through it. Pauline Hanson herself went to jail on electoral fraud, which was completely overturned on appeal after she served 11 weeks in prison and famously said, "I'm a prisoner of my own conscience and a prisoner of my political enemies, but I'll not let them break my spirit." So how does a party go from having their main leader in jail, being called racist and xenophobic in almost every single interview, now become one of the biggest threats to the two main parties in Australia? Because they were ahead of their time. Because they were predicting based on facts of what Australia would become in a time where people are obsessed with progressive change in society. Also, just take a look at the top 5 concerns for Australian people right now. So this is the data from the IPSOS and Roy Morgan. I'm just showing that number 1, well, that sits with the cost of living. 2. Housing and rents. 3. Crime and community safety. 4. The economy. And 5. Immigration. With a very interesting spike in 64% of Australians now reporting that they're worried about national security, up from 42% in late 2024. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the main reason for this is due to Albanese's uncertainty in this time of crisis and poor leadership in this Iranian conflict, which you can see evidently in that pathetic yet sadly historical national address. Let's just roll the tapes and have a look at the lunacy yet again.
My fellow Australians, by nature, we're an optimistic country, but I understand that right now it's hard to be positive. Can promise we will do everything we can to protect Australia from the worst of it.
No wonder Aussies are concerned over national security. Now let's take a look at One Nation's attitudes towards Australia's top concerns, and this is seen through their policies and no bullshit interviews, but let's have a look at their policies first. So the first one is including free speech in the Constitution, which is above everything my favourite because I strongly advocate for that. A 5-year moratorium on charging GST on building materials, cracking down on foreign ownership, deportation of 75,000 illegal immigrants, cracking down on visa rorting, ending net zero, bringing in nuclear, thank God, and much more. And One Nation can actually present themselves properly in an interview instead of Albo's list-filled, virtue signalling interviews. Let's take a look at how One Nation rolls.
Any regrets at all for having promoted division in Australia?
Sarah, you know where the division came from? When our Prime Minister put up a voice to Parliament. That was the division that has happened, where it was overwhelmingly rejected by Australians. If my question about immigration is divisive, I think you're on the wrong page.
The planet? Is it worth that?
We're not saving the planet. We are saving. We are earning billionaires billions and billions of dollars ad nauseum. This is a self-indulgent vanity trip by Australia, which is doing nothing but deindustrialising Australia and making pensioners poorer.
And also, let's not forget what the left has produced.
Let's review some of the signs and the little costumes that the people wore yesterday at the March for Australia rally, and let's see if they make any sense. Out strong with an incredibly hypocritical sign from this here. Look at her face. She's very smug. She's very happy with her little A3 printing from Officeworks. And it says, love the country you live in or live in the country you love, right? Which is pretty ironic because don't you guys complain that Australia's gone to shit? Aren't you guys marching because Australia's lost its way? Don't I hear all of you complaining constantly about how fucked Australia is and how Albo sold us out? Guys, love the country you live in or live in the country you love. Those are your options. And there's the obvious irony that that's what immigrants are doing.
We're always blaming white people. You're gonna love this. Let's talk about it. Colonisation in Australia. White people.
So from all of this, back in the 90s when One Nation was just a fringe movement, Pauline Hanson was jailed and anyone speaking out was constantly labelled racist or xenophobic for simply stating the facts of what was happening. But the country was stuck on a progressive movement instead. But now, they've turned into one of the biggest threats to the two-party system, and definitely for me a light at the end of the tunnel because I constantly see more and more Australians feeling like the Australian dream's dead and long gone. But One Nation, I think, can bring it back and turn this stuff around. So the rise of what was once a fringe movement and what I call the real right in Australia is starting to come into play, and I am very excited. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Do you think One Nation is going to rise even further, or do you think they are the real right in Australia? Let me know in the comments below, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Thanks, guys.